an American airman. I am a warrior. I have answered my nation's call. I am an American airman. My mission is to fly, fight, and win. I am an American airman, wingman, leader, warrior. I will never leave an airman behind. I will never falter, and I will not fail.
There it is. Welcome back, everybody. It is the Back and Forth Air Force Recruiting Services only live stream. Have we got a show today? This one is going to go down in the storybooks. This one is rated officers. And if you don't know what that is officer aviators in the Air Force. So think like pilots, combat systems officers, air battle managers, and RPA pilots. So that's the like drone pilots, remote piloted aircraft. So we've actually got two guests on this show. Both of them are rated officers. They have a ton of experience between them in flying and being in the Air Force and what that looks like. So get those questions ready, put a Q in front of it, put it in the chat. We will keep track of all of them. We've already got a ton of them coming through. This is going to be an awesome show. So what I want to do is talk about a video that we actually had made recently where we were able to get with the same guys, if I'm not mistaken, the same guys that actually filmed some of the Top Gun Maverick imagery. And they actually used some of the same cinematography equipment, including the same aircraft, to shoot this video that we have called Own the Sky. If you've watched Air Force videos on YouTube or on Facebook or any of those platforms, you've probably seen this video. It is bad to the bone. It gets my blood going every single time. And I think there's no time like the present. Let's check this video out.
The Earth is 70% water. And 30% land. But the entire sky belongs to us.
I cannot tell you how many times I have seen that video, and every single time I do, it gives me goosebumps and it makes me smile like an idiot. So that is probably one of my favorite videos that we've done. And it actually was done actually in my tenure here at Air Force Recruiting Service. So it was actually pretty cool to see all that come together and then watch all the hype as it actually got released out and premiered to the public. So sweet video. If you liked it, obviously this show will be airing again in all the platforms that you're watching it on now as a saved video later. You can go back and watch it, or you can just go YouTube or look on Facebook and look up Own the Sky Air Force video. It's sweet. I love that video. All right, so we're going to introduce our first guest of the show. We have Colonel Siren. Colonel Siren is Vanessa Mahan. So Colonel Siren Mahan. I'm getting all the names mixed together right now, but Siren is your call sign. First off, how are you doing? And thank you for being on the show with us.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here. Greetings from sunny/rainy, stormy Florida.
Okay, nice. How does one get the nickname or the call sign Siren?
Well, first you have to buy me an adult beverage to hear the story. I'm just kidding. So
I was like, all I have is water.
This is tea. So call signs are given to you by your operational squadron. It's typically when you've done something funny, we'll call it.
Okay. Okay.
Or it's a play off your last name, or it can have some other meaning to it. My story or my call sign has a couple different meanings to it, but the easiest one that I will tell you that is friendly for this time frame, this audience, is if you think back to Greek mythology, sirens, they lure sailors to their death. I married a sailor, so.
Oh, somebody's got to be the brains of the operation.
Somebody has to be.
There you go. Cool. So, give me a little background on what your Air Force career has looked like. Talk to me about what you do, and explain for our audience out there how it's been being an officer that's also an aviator.
So, you know, you start off your Air Force career, and for mine started in ROTC at Purdue University.
Hmm.
I applied for a scholarship when I was in high school, and I was lucky enough to get a full ride, a 4-year scholarship to Purdue. That is me coming from not knowing what I wanted to do when I grew up, but knowing that I needed a scholarship to pave the way to go to college. So thank you, Air
Sure.
Force. Um, but
Yeah,
being
that's
in
fair.
ROTC was amazing. I found my people. I had such a good time. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do, except there was this aviation thing that sounded pretty amazing. So I wanted to pursue that route. And unfortunately, at that time, my eyesight was not good enough to allow me to be pilot qualified. So I
Okay.
qualified for the next best thing, which was Joint Strike undergraduate navigator training. That's that CISO umbrella now. Um, and it was fantastic. I loved roller coasters as a kid, so naturally I wanted to fly something that pulled a lot of G's, like that F-15E in the
Mm.
back there. So I got my first choice of aircraft. I got to go fly in the F-15E, and you know, career progression wise, I then became an electromagnetic warfare officer and flew in the EA-6B Prowler with the Navy. So I
Oh,
actually have some
cool.
carrier time,
Okay. That's
which is
awesome.
pretty cool for an Air Force person to have carrier time. So I have some traps and some cat shots,
Nice.
and
That's
had
cool.
a couple of kids. Joined the reserves. You know, that was not my plan going into the Air
Mm.
Force. I thought I would be there for a full 20 years. I would lead a squadron into combat, that kind of thing. But sometimes life gives you other opportunities, and the reserves was that opportunity for me. So
Okay.
I've been doing reserves for the last 10 years in different facets, if you
Okay.
will. So um, currently, I'm the deputy commander of Joint Global Strike Operation Center, the reservist to the deputy commander.
Okay, cool. So if we're looking at your resume, break it down simple to understand style for somebody like me, what your career kind of has, what are some of the highlights? What's some of the cool stuff you've gotten to do?
Well, the whole, when in college, 9/11 happened.
Hmm.
So I, at that time, I was like, send me, I'm ready to go. Well, it's not that simple. You have to go through training.
Sure.
Finally, after many years of flight school to build up to the F-15E, was my opportunity to go downrange and to support an Operation Enduring Freedom, which was in Afghanistan. And that was one of the highlights of my career, was flying close air support missions downrange.
Okay, cool. How many hours do you have logged in an F-15, roughly?
Uh, Unfortunately, not that many, probably about 800 or 900, and over half of those are actually combat hours.
You guys hear that? She says 800 hours in a combat aircraft, in a fighter aircraft is not a lot. That's 800 or 900 more hours than I've ever spent in one. I've gotten to fly in some pretty cool stuff that the Air Force has, but I've never gotten to fly in a fighter. And this is like a ping out there. If anybody's got a hookup to get your boy up in a fighter jet, that would be that's a box that I want to tick before I get out of the military. So I want to key in on something that you mentioned. You talked about when life hands you unique opportunities and new challenges. How you didn't see your career vectoring to reserve stuff. You saw active duty all the way through 20. Talk to me about that process, that transition, because I mean, it can kind of come as a shock when you realize that what your original plan isn't going to follow through. But then the Air Force is still there offering you an opportunity that allows you to continue to serve while still pursuing your family life. Talk to me about that.
So the Air Force has the saying, flexibility is a key to air power. Well,
Hmm.
flexibility was not the key to siren power. I was very adamant that this is the path and these are my goals, and I don't want to deviate from that.
Sure.
But one of the things I learned is to be stubborn with your goals, but flexible with the method. And
I like
that
that.
flexible method was for me the reserves. So it did allow me to keep my family together. And that was at that time most important. I had two little babies. I had orders to a different state than my husband, and I wasn't willing to separate my family more than we were already separated just due to the ops tempo at the time. And so I joined the reserves, and you know, I thought my career is over at this time. I'm going to tap out at major because I'm in the reserves. But what I didn't realize was that is 100% not true. And
Hmm.
so many doors open to me as a reservist that I would have never had the opportunity to pursue had I stayed active duty. Now, I'm not saying that active duty is bad or you should get out and join the
Sure.
reserves, but the thing is that you have to understand that there are options out there. So,
Right.
what fits best for you and your life and your goals at that moment? And it is true, see the opportunity that, you know, that is presented to you so you don't miss something amazing
Sure.
that could happen. So some of the things that I've done that are just I'm so proud of as a reservist was I, worked in special ops for about 7 years in Hawaii, which was not a bad gig. So,
Yeah.
as a strike eagle and a prowler person, I am considered conventional. Well, then I got to go work with special ops for 7 years, which was amazing. And then I got to go to a different wing and teach command and control, which is, you don't get anywhere with your airplanes or ships or whatever you have unless you have command and control. So I got to teach that. Inside that, I've done so much stuff with the Air Force Recruiting Service and their rated diversity improvement that has been just career fulfilling. Youth engagement has been wonderful, talking to youth and influencers about rated opportunities in the Air Force has been phenomenal. I was in an Air Force commercial that they played before Captain Marvel. I mean, how amazing is that?
Oh yeah.
And
No, I
then,
actually worked on
of
that
course,
commercial. I remember that one.
that was awesome. And then, of
Yeah, that
course,
was cool.
operational things. And I'm still part of the mission too. So, I was a battle director out in, we'll call it the desert. And then I worked on a small team that was helping support Ukraine. That was so fulfilling and so amazing. Um, there, so many opportunities.
Sure.
And
No, it sounds
my
like.
husband,
Go ahead.
my husband likes to call it career off-roading. So,
Career
and with all
off-roading.
that, I still, promoted to colonel, and I am
Congratulations.
grateful and just surprised every time. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Very cool. As you guys can see on the graphic on the bottom, if you got questions, type a Q in front of your comment so we know it's a question. That helps us kind of siphon through which ones are questions, and it helps us get to those in order, and they get added to our little bucket there. If we don't get to your question during the show, please know that we have moderators and chatters that are in the chat on all the platforms. That would be Ray and Pam at least, as well as some other people that are out there answering your questions that we either don't have a chance to get to, and they're actually in those comments after the show goes on. So know that even if we don't answer it live on the show, you'll actually see Pam, there she is right now, in the comments answering people's questions. So she's out there working hard and keeping you guys informed. So if we don't answer it, put up on the screen here, she'll get to it in the comments. So back to Colonel Siren. What I'm getting from this is you have gotten a chance to do a ton of really cool stuff. And it sounds like you've also had a chance to kind of take that experience and go share that with other people and kind of be part of those outreach programs that educate and kind of inform people that might be potentially interested in joining the Air Force. Is that right? Am I pretty close there?
Shaq.
Nice. All right, perfect. So is there an Air Force this is a personal question for you. Is there an Air Force aircraft that you have not ridden in or been part of a mission on that you'd like to, and why?
Oh, okay.
And this won't
So
betray your
I
this won't betray your F-15E roots.
I
If you say another fighter, that's fine. It's like somebody that owns a Ferrari being like, yeah, I'd like to drive a Lamborghini. That'd be cool. There's no shame in that.
know. No. So actually, I have flown in this aircraft, but I've never been a part of the mission before. I would love to fly search and rescue. So
Okay.
helicopters.
Like
Um,
60s.
I I just think that would be an amazing career field, and it's kind of what I wanted to do before. And I knew joining the Air Force that I was not going to be pilot qualified. And sure, maybe back in the day I could have, you know, done the corrective eye surgery thing, but that is something that I still look at. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
hmm.
Yeah.
So to kind of appease that taste, or that passion goal, if you will,
Sure.
I am actually working on my private pilot's license, and I'm going to go for a rotor rating.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. I've got a buddy of mine. I mentioned before the show started that my wife and I are pursuing our private pilot's licenses as well. Well, we're going for fixed wing. We're not going to go for rotor. A buddy of mine that we take classes with is looking at doing his rotary stuff. So it's a totally different approach to flight. I have never been, I've never flown a rotary aircraft, but I can say I have actually been in a search and rescue H-60 under mission and as a combat cameraman. So I was able to document the mission. And that is some of the coolest stuff. Because there's like a bunch of stuff to combat camera you don't really have any clear cut guidance as to when stop taking pictures and video and when to, be a part of that team that's potentially either protecting or attacking. Right. And I was on this aircraft on this H-60 and we were over water picking up a team. We were bringing them up on the winch, right? And at one point in time, we were bringing up their bags, but their bags had been in the water for so long that they had waterlogged and they weighed way more than we were supposed to pull up. And the two guys, the gunner and the flight engineer, could not get the bags up. And there was a senior chief. It was with the Navy, and it was a senior chief. And I just tossed my camera to him. They had a little nod adapter on it, so it was like a PVS-14 modifier that you can plug into the front of it that lets you see everything in night vision. And I just handed it to him, and I think he thought I wanted him to record, I was having yo, watch this. And so he just panicked and just held onto this camera. And I reached out and I'm on a monkey tail. So I'm still connected to the aircraft, but we're reaching out the door, pulling probably 1,200 pounds of gear through this door as we're trying to get this stuff up there. Probably one of the coolest missions ever. And flying along the coastline and just looking out, and some of the imagery that I got where you can see the rotors from the aircraft behind you, and you're looking through the window where the gunner's there and he's just tracking and doing his thing. Super, super cool experience. So yeah,
Cool.
chase that one down. If you get the opportunity
Yeah.
to do that, yes, do it. It's super, super cool. So, all right. So last question for you, and then we are going to get into our next guest and introduce him as well. But for right now, my question is, what has been the biggest challenge of your career, and how did you overcome it? If you care to share.
Yeah.
I get a good one. I didn't even prep you with this one. I didn't even tell you beforehand that I was going to ask. This one was I just got
Gosh, okay. So it's hard to define the biggest challenge because with anything, you're always going to have challenges. So some of those challenges are in your control. Some of those challenges are not in your control. So I'll take you all the way back to Second Lieutenant Siren before I was called Siren. And, one of the things I was facing was a medical condition that could have completely disqualified me from flying. And for me, that was eustachian tube dysfunction. So I couldn't equalize in the aircraft, either on ascent or descent, which is a real problem when you're trying to fly and then you feel like your head is going to explode. So no good. We don't want
especially
that.
if that's your full-time job.
Right. You can't focus, all those things. And, that was not in my control because that's the way my eustachian tubes were formed. But to me, I had to face that challenge. What am I going to do? How am I going to try to overcome that? Well, let's go to the doctors. What do those doctors say? Okay, let's go see specialists. Okay, let's try option A and see if that works. Let's try option B. Then let's try surgery. Let's try all these things because for me, that was my goal. I wanted to get to combat and support the troops on the ground and be part of that mission post 9/11. So failure was not an option in that case for me. What it happened was I fell maybe 6, 8 months behind in my training, but I didn't stop and I kept going. So was the problem ever fully fixed? No, it was not, but it was fixed enough for me to finish the program and then eventually get to the F-15E.
That's really cool. So it sounds like it's not even as simple as having a challenge and then just simply overcoming that challenge. It sounds like a challenge to where there was not a clear goal that you could achieve, but you could fight and fight and fight and fight and get close enough to where you could get signed off. To where it's like you were told, no, that's not possible. And then you started fighting and they were like, it's still not possible. And you just kept pushing through the barriers until they were like, wow, that's it, the check mark. So that actually, I'm really glad that that's the story because I was going to clarify this. I've got this thing, it's silly, but I keep a track on my phone. I have this document called Quote of the Day. People here in the office know about it, but basically there's some simple rules. There's only one quote of the day can happen every 24 hours. And that 24 hours resets at midnight every night. And once a quote of the day has been identified and written down, no other quote of the day, no matter how good, can take its place. So I wrote down what you said earlier because I really liked it. Most of my, no, don't get me wrong, most of my quote of the days I can't really say on air, and some of them they're more funny than anything else. But I want to make sure I got this right because it's be stubborn with your goals and flexible with your methods. Is that correct? Cool.
That
And
is
I've got
correct.
it dash as in quote from Siren. So I will write that down in that list, and part of the other rule is somebody else is going to get to hear what that was. I can't pull my phone out right now and find that because I have no service in here, but maybe I'll shoot you a text message to let you know what the last quote of the day was. So
Awesome.
that is awesome. And thank you so much for sharing that challenge and kind of how you overcame it and what it took to get through that. Mike is waving at me. Yes, did you need something? Okay. He was doing something. I couldn't quite see what he was doing. So, alrighty. We are getting closer and closer to the back and forth section of the show where you guys submit your questions. We put them on the screen and we answer those questions live right here with our guests. Speaking of guests, we need to introduce our second guest. He is Lieutenant Colonel Kelly McNerney. Thank you for joining us, sir. Welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for having me. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Kelly McNerney. I am Commander of Detachment 1 at AFRS.
What is Detachment 1? That sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah, so we're lucky to be able to go out and conduct outreach. And so what we're trying to do is inform, influence, and inspire that next generation of leaders. And we do it towards aviation career fields, but we make sure we go out there with a full team of Air Force as well as, total force partners such as civic leaders to go out and spread the message of all the different opportunities that our youth today have that we may not have had back in the day.
Okay. So you kind of answered my next question by doing that. I was going to say, okay, well, this is Detachment 1. So we fight for the lowest number, right? Because if you did it first, you probably are one of the most historic, legacy heavy, just cool, right? So Det 1, got it. But what you do is take all of the cool stuff about the Air Force and send it into the path of anyone that's looking at joining, people that are of the age of service, looking at potential job opportunities, and you put those opportunities out there for them and show them all the cool stuff that the Air Force has to offer.
Absolutely. And on top of that, yeah, absolutely. But also on top of that, we like to provide mentors that can share the pathways for the next generation to make it easier. So they highlight the barriers that they had so that that next generation has a path of less resistance than they did so that they can replace us as future leaders within our Air Force.
Very cool. I am totally taking notes right now because most of that at the back end there is stuff that we don't do yet. We don't provide as the back and forth live stream. We don't do the mentorship thing yet, but we totally put all the cool stuff that the Air Force has and does out in front of the public, right? And we let them ask questions about it, which is what we're going to get to here in a little bit. That right there, that graphic was my next question though. Aim High Flight Academy. I understand that you are involved in that program. Please, if you are out there, can you throw that up one more time? If you're out there, screenshot this, copy that QR code, or check it out right now. Go check out the Aim High Flight Academy while Colonel McNerney is talking about this right now, because this is some really cool stuff. But sir, if you would kind of walk me through kind of your role in that, and then what the Aim High Flight Academy is and does for us.
Yeah, great. So thank you for the opportunity to share this. Det1 started this flight program approximately 2021, and Colonel Mahan was actually one of our instructors there that helped mentor our youth. At that point, it was 72 individuals that were selected to get an intro flight program to experience 12 to 15 flight hours. We have grown that. This year, we're anticipating around 254 students. And you would apply. The window opens June 1st and will close at the end of September for the next summer. This year has been filled, but it doesn't mean that you can apply. You have to be 16 years of age or older, be enrolled in high school, have a GPA of 3.0 or higher, and have no more than 5 flight hours. The reason why no more than 5 powered flight hours is because it is an intro program. So it gives you the capability to sit in the aircraft, learn, as well as potentially solo the aircraft. But our emphasis is the 12 and 15 hours for that program.
That's really cool. And is there like an app for that or anything?
If you go to the website, you can even just Google it, Aim High Flight Academy. It will take you to the application, but also give you the information on what you need to know to set yourself up. If you are going to set yourself up, I would recommend definitely starting the application early so that you can see what the requirements are that they're asking for.
Sure.
For example, they're looking for that whole person concept. They want to see where your passions are and what you do. And, you have the potential to go do some community service, give back to your community, and put that on your application that is reflective of who you are as an individual.
Perfect. Thanks for the description. I appreciate it. I know that program is actually gaining a ton of traction, and we're really proud of it. So check that out for sure. And while you're at it, airforce.com, and check out the recruiter section. Make sure that you use the recruiter finder tool. That thing is super powerful. Like we were talking about with Colonel Siren, you can get on there and pick what kind of service you want to do, what kind of job you want to do, whether you're looking for full-time, part-time, what location, all that stuff. And there's little filters in there that'll drop you down and point you at a recruiter that's really close to you. So double check that. And with that, we are going to get into the back and forth section. It's question and answer time. We got the 3 up. There we are. Put a Q in your comment right before your comment in the section, and we will make sure to put that in the questions bin. And without further ado, let's jump in and get the first question up on the screen. And hopefully it disappears about the same time that text does, so they're not over each other. Too easy. Can you hear the sonic boom from inside the plane? That is a good question. Thank you, Daniel. Let's see. Colonel, I don't know. So first off, 2 questions that are going to pry this one open, because I know I can ask Colonel Siren this one. But Colonel McNerney, have you ever been past the speed of sound?
I have been, just once though.
Listen, could you hear the sonic boom from inside the cockpit?
I probably was so busy as a student that I don't remember it, but I definitely remember the significant dip and then the instruments, in my opinion, going haywire.
Okay. Colonel Siren, how about you?
Yes, I have gone over the Mach, and no, you cannot hear it in the plane.
Okay. Follow-up question. What is a sonic boom? What causes it?
You're compressing the air because you're going so fast that it releases at the back end once you pass through it.
Okay.
So when you go over the Mach, you're going to hear, you won't hear, but everybody else will hear the effect of you going that speed.
Okay. So I'm trying to equate it to something, because I've never been over the speed of sound. or over the Mach, as you said, which is way cooler. But like when you take your hand underneath the water in a pool and you push it really fast, there's that wave of pressure that kind of goes behind it. Is it similar to that, but just in the air? Or am I way off track and clearly a noob at this?
Those are good physics questions. I would think it could be similar. I'm not, super proficient in my aerodynamics, but that sounds about right.
Okay. Colonel McNerney, you mentioned something about you could feel a physical dip and then the instruments went a little crazy. What are you referring to? Because the only thing I know of a dip is like if you're in a CV-22 at the transition point when those rotors go forward instead of upward and you do this weird, like you're falling out of the sky feeling. That's the only dip I've ever felt in an aircraft like that.
Yeah. So please pardon me. I'm going to just show with my knife hands. But as you're flying, the significant increase in acceleration, it drops after the aircraft and dips before it planes out once you go past that Mach.
Interesting. Man, I'm starting to wonder. I should have gotten a physics guest on here too, where I could like ping him. Maybe Pam in the comments is a physics expert. She could be like, find out why the aircraft dips a little bit. Oh, that's really cool.
The important thing is, though, if you get the opportunity to break the sound barrier, you should definitely take it.
Okay, cool. Why is that? Obviously, aside from the bragging
Why not?
rights.
Yeah,
That's
bragging
fair.
rights,
That's fair.
obviously.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think the fastest I've ever been was probably a commercial aircraft because those guys, 500-ish miles an hour. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention really that much.
Yeah.
I didn't get to look at the speedo. So, all right, let's get the next question up there. What's been your best experience of being an aviator? Colonel Simon, why don't you take this one? Best experience, aside from being able to go over the Mach in an airplane.
That's tough. My mind goes in two different directions. One, it's flying close air support in combat, and just picture you flying 500 feet above a 10 vehicle convoy that has been out without showers, and they're eating rations for like 10 days, and they're looking for a morale boost / show of force to make sure that their path is clear. You fly over them 500 feet, rock your wings, maybe drop a flare, and the controllers on the ground key the mic, and all you hear is cheering. That is one of the best feelings ever that I have had as an aviator. The other school of thought, or where my mind goes with best memories of being an aviator, is the people that you meet, really. Kind of that like-minded aviation-centric brain. Great people.
Yeah, I can imagine being the aviator inside the aircraft that does that show of force, that little morale boost like you're talking about when you fly over and just show your presence. Because being a rated officer, being an officer that is air crew or an aviator is just like, that's rock star status, right? That's like one of the coolest things in the world that you can do. It's just like, it's almost unreachable. It's that level of like Super Bowl quarterback, or like, Lewis Hamilton F1, or like guys that are like at the absolute top of their game, that unobtainium that normal mere mortals can't do. And when you get to do the little rock and show that force and you get to hear that immediate feedback, it's probably like being the lead singer or the axeman in a band, 80,000 people going nuts for you. Like to get that immediate feedback. Because when you're up there, doing your mission, like it's just you and your mission with whoever's on your aircraft, right? And while you're communicating with one or two people simultaneously that are maybe in the battle space, like you're not really seeing your immediate effects other than like what, when you see your explosions or whatever on the ground, like, yes, that's happening. But like sometimes it may be more difficult to see exactly how that's affecting your teammates on the ground. Right. But when you get that key up on that mic and you hear it coming across the channel on the frequency, and you hear those guys down there losing their minds, and all you did was a flyby, that's got to be super cool. Like I can't even imagine. That's got to be. You're like, keep going, don't stop.
I know. And here's the thing, though.
No, go ahead.
It's not unobtainable. Like it is doable, and you can do that stuff. And that's the really cool part about the Air Force, is that you can have that opportunity to be that rock star.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Colonel McNerney, over to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What's your coolest, what's the coolest experience so far in your aviation career field?
I think it's in line with exactly what Colonel Siren stated. The people that are doing the mission with you, that, you know, you're born into family, but you also get to pick your family. And so I feel like by choosing this career pathway, like, there are a lot of individuals that I consider family that I've met along the way, that I've been lucky to be in their presence. And then a cool mission supporting individuals on the ground, I'll never forget. So while I was deployed, we had an ops phone, and that phone would ring, and on the other end was an individual that was in a deployed location, and at night they would get, their base would be mortared at night, and every time they would call in, they would ask if that crew was flying. And so my aircraft was J-Stars, which is a surveillance aircraft that, watches the picture on the ground. And so they always asked to see if our aircraft was in the air, because at nighttime we would watch those forward operating locations and then provide support. And so anytime we're up in the air, typically no action would be happening, and those individuals can sleep at night. So that's
really
one of my
cool.
core memories. Receiving that phone call, like, is your crew going to be in the air? And hey, we're on our way in 50 minutes.
Awesome.
So that was one of my core memories, taking care of those individuals on the ground, but also getting to do it with other individuals that want to do something above themselves.
Answering a call. It's nice to be needed, and it's also nice to be acknowledged, right? So if your job is to support, and your immediate and direct customer is calling to make sure that you're there to support, that's got to add some validation to that job for sure. That's super cool. That's got to be really fulfilling. And it's funny because, like, there's the different elements of it, right? You could have the, fighter pilot perspective. Everything is just like intense at that level. And the impact that you have on the absolute forward tip of the spear is huge, right? But then all of the elements that are there as well are so equally fulfilling and can be as powerful. And the fight would not be as successful if we didn't have those elements. So yeah, both really, really good. Really, really good answers. Thank you, guys. All right, next one. What is the coolest unclassified operation you have been in? Man, you had to go and ruin the question with the unclassified, Luke. I want to know what the coolest classified mission's ever been. That'd be really cool. You talk about getting our views up. And then we'd go away forever. All right, so unclassified. What's the coolest unclassified mission you can tell us about? Colonel Siren. I see you're primed. You're ready.
I know. Shoot. No. Sorry. They're all classified. No.
Oh, snap. Colonel McNerney, you're up.
I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
So, gosh. It's like when you say, don't think of a pink elephant. Of course, you're going to think of a pink elephant. So now, of course, all I'm thinking about is the classified
ones.
missions.
So here you go. So can you answer if you had to split the difference of, like, the percentage of, I don't even know if you can answer this question, the percentage of classified missions versus non-classified missions that you've participated in? Just so you know. Like, we've had people that call in for the show, they're in the Pentagon, and we get to, like, the last part of the show, and I'm like, oh, by the way, yeah, they're calling from the Pentagon, and that's pretty crazy. So
yeah.
What's that percentage look like? Is it like, it's totally 50-50? I'm going to guess it's 50-50.
Totally 50-50. No, I think one of the coolest missions was I was flying with one of the pilots that was in my B course, or that's the basic course when you go to the Strike Eagle. So we were both younger wingmen, if you will, and we had a mission one night where, we got a 9-line to strike a target, and we struck the target. Shack, of course, because I was a weapons systems officer, no big deal. But it had, we had hit the biggest weapons cache to date in theater. And so there were
Whoa.
secondaries coming off because of the weapon that we put on that target.
And by secondaries, you
that
mean like
was
more explosions, right?
Yep, explosions from the weapons that they had in this cache. So I
Nice.
thought, from a very unclassed level, that was pretty cool and fulfilling to have helped service that target.
I like that. Service the target. It's like launching, I don't know, like a flare into a wagon full of firecrackers. You're like, it's going to get bigger. And all we did was light the fuse. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Colonel McNerney, how about you? Non-pink elephant story.
So it's tough because usually majority of the
J-stars.
missions are class.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think more so if we're talking unclassified, it's a lot of the training, because I think the Air Force does a really good job of setting you up for success. You train to the worst case scenario. So when you go out there and fly an ops mission, it seems like a normal day. But I think training with other entities, kind of piggybacking off the previous question where we talked about the people, it's meeting those other assets that we incorporate and to see how we can be more impactful as a team, to where, hey, we're talking individuals' eyes onto, where we play war games, bad guys, to help them see and then, help accomplish the mission very well, but do it as a team, utilizing our assets of controlling, utilizing our assets that drop bombs, utilizing our assets on the ground to help paint a full picture of the team through our comms and chatter to make sure we are doing it to the best of our ability.
Yeah, that's cool. So even though that wasn't a direct answer, it does a good job of kind of encompassing how like what you do could honestly be quantified as like the coolest thing of the job, and it's consistent. So it's like it's always doing that level of performance, right? So it's like you're going to have sure you're going to have little individual moments, but like, if that's the level at which you're performing every single day at your job, that's really cool. That's like dream job level stuff. And I'm going to jump on. I got a non-pink elephant. I'm just going to start calling classified missions pink elephants. And it's just going to be like, that's going to be the thing forward. And it's going to be an inside joke. So it's going to get lost on everybody and I'll look like a nerd. When I was on my first deployment, I was in the gym and I saw this guy walk by, and he had and this is not self-serving, he had a meticulous mustache. He was known for his mustache to the point where I didn't even know we were deployed together, but I saw his mustache walk by. And I was like, stop my set. I walked out into the hallway and I hollered at him down the hallway, and this dude turns around and I was like, no way. So he walks back up toward me. Long story short, this is a C-17 pilot. And I won't say his name just for whatever reason, but he's a good friend of mine. And he got big on this deployment. Apparently all he did was, hang out, tan, and go to the gym and then fly B missions. He was on backup team, right? And he was getting ready to transition out. He was coming home, and we got to catching up and stuff. And I was like, dude, if you fly any missions, you got to let me know. I'm out here providing support for this element, and I'd love to get on your aircraft if you guys go fly anything. And he goes, okay, cool. A week goes by and he hits me up and he's like, hey, show up to, ops and we'll debrief and we'll see if we can get you on this mission. And I ended up getting to go on it, and it was a combat mission for a C-17. We were transporting fuel. The cool part about this story is that guy was on my team at SEER. So when we went through resistance training up in Washington, that's where we met, was up in SEER. And it was just really cool to run back into him operationally and then get to fly it. And then the little cherry on top is that was my very first combat mission that I'd ever flown, and it was with the guy that I went to SEER with. So it was really, really cool to do that. And I made a deal with him that if he would let me up into the cockpit with my camera, which isn't uncommon, but a lot of times, especially for operational missions, the last thing those guys want up there is a camera with distractions while they're trying to do their job. I was like, if you let me up there, I'll stay out of your way, and I promise to feature your mustache on this video. And that video exists out there on the internet. It's on Divids, obviously, but then one of those famous YouTube channels picked it up and just rebroadcast it. My B-roll stringer from that has like over 2 million views, and you can pause it at like, I think it's like, I don't know, some arbitrary number, 37 seconds. Just this awkwardly up close shot of this dude's mustache that totally cleared and made it through. The PA was like, that's fine. It's like, why is this dude's mustache that big on the screen? So yeah, that was flight story turned mustache story very quickly. Next, Let me get the next one. What's your best advice for balancing your work and home family life as an Air Force aviator? I'm a teacher, but currently working with a recruiter to pursue a rated position. I've been watching these back and forth episodes since last summer, and they have helped me make this decision. Thank you for all that you do. Appreciate you. Thank you for the shout out. And I'm going to turn this one over to Colonel Siren first. I know you already mentioned, and we actually heard, I believe, your son on our countdown timer. He was making some noise in the camera and the microphone. So welcome to the show, our extra third subject matter expert. But talk to us about what it's like to be an aviator, because that's demanding, right? And you said your husband, is he also an aviator, and he's also military? Like, what's that like to have that kind of demand on mom and dad and still have that family life? What's that balance like for you?
So we both started off single, not married, without kids.
That's typically how it
and
starts.
so that, yeah, which is great because it allowed us both to really focus on
Sure.
learning all the aircrafts that we had to go through to get to our operational aircraft,
Sure.
and then really hone in on the tactics, and just become the steely-eyed killers that we were meant to be. But joking aside, there are people that do go through flight school that already have kids and a spouse. So
Right.
it is not unheard of. What you have to make clear is to your family, it's like, hey, mom or dad, husband or wife, I'm going to be heads down for months at a time trying to learn this aircraft, trying to learn these tactics and procedures. And getting their support is huge. So even after we had kids, you will find a way to make it work because you still have to study, you still have to know your emergency procedures, and you have to be proficient. Now you're just adding two little humans or however number that are demanding your time, but you make it work, and that's what we do. Like women and men with two-legged children or four-legged children, we make it work because we want all the things. Now, people talk about this work-life balance business. I don't think that's a real thing. I like to think of it more as a harmony. So for my husband and myself, and he is now retired, but when we needed to, we would work logistics out together. We'd have family meetings like, okay, who's going to be a primary parent tonight while the other one is working or flying?
Sure.
Or, hey, I can only give the family 10% because my 90% has to go to the job for the next couple days. So we kind of, as much as we can, talk through it and work it out so we can come up with a plan together and we know what we are getting into that week or that month or however it is. We also try to bring in backup for help. So babysitters or family or maybe a cleaning person to help kind of take tasks off of our plates. So when we do have free time, we're not spending it scrubbing toilets. We are spending it with our kids or family.
Gotcha. Solid. It sounds like a lot of communication, a lot of teamwork, and a lot of understanding. So solid answer. Let's throw another one back up on the screen. In your opinion, what is the coolest aircraft to fly? Colonel McNerney. This is one of those opinion-heavy ones, and you are absolutely welcome to lay it on us.
I would say the J-Stars definitely, but that is now in the graveyard. But I mean, I always had dreams of trying to fly the SR-71, but we know that that's not going to ever happen.
Sure.
But I love the J-Stars. It was a phenomenal aircraft. The mission was wonderful, taking care of other people. And, we have 2 bathrooms on it when we're flying, 13-hour missions. And an oven.
Brag.
F-15, yeah.
So
it's like perks that an F-15 just doesn't come standard equipment with. You might have to add that.
As well as
I think so.
We had bunk beds as well. We did have bunk beds.
Nice. Yeah, so I feel like
So bougie.
I feel like the 2 two bathrooms on the J-Stars, definitely a perk. That's, I think the F-15 caused a lot of bathroom breaks. That's bad. Okay, so for those of us that don't know the platform, what is the J-Stars? What aircraft is that?
So it is, if you think of like the old Pan Am aircraft, the 707s in the 1960s, basically the Air Force bought all these old 707s and reconfigured them to throw equipment on the back, to where we have air battle managers on the back who are looking at pictures on their screens to help out our ground troops, watch pattern of life. But basically it's a surveillance aircraft that we take up in the air, and we go do reconnaissance and support the ground troops.
Got it. Very cool. And obviously big enough for sleeping quarters and 2 bathrooms. That's comfy. So the aircraft that I have the most time on is the 17, because I was stationed in Charleston for 4 years. And so all of our currency and most of our ops were all 17 stuff. So I get it. There's a bed in there. There's only 1 bathroom in the C-17, but still pretty cool getting to do some of those operations with those aircraft. So again, I know you don't get a bathroom, but I still want to fly on a fighter. So
I should hold up my bathroom, which is like a piddle pack, but I don't have any right now to show you. Sorry.
It's much smaller. How many years does the process take to become a fighter pilot? Colonel Mahan, what's your answer for this one? How long does it take?
It depends.
I know it varies. Right, it varies.
Yes.
But what's an average?
So it depends on the pipeline and how fast things are moving and if there's any backups. But typically, you can expect to be in your operational aircraft within 2 to 3 years.
Okay. 2 to 3 years, and you'll be in it, or you'll have it selected, like you'll know what it is, like you'll be flying in it.
You should be in it.
Cool.
And going through your primary training for that operational aircraft.
Nice. Solid answer. Easy enough. And honestly, shorter than I thought. That's pretty quick. Very cool. All right, next question. I'm a middle schooler hoping to get into the U.S. Air Force Academy. I'm already lined up for a great high school and plan to play football next year. Nice. I'm also a member of the Civil Air Patrol program. What else can I do? Fantastic question. And I feel like some of the people on this call right now might be able to help out with that answer. Colonel McNerney, why don't you take this one for us? Because I feel like this falls right in line with like Det 1 and also AIM High Flight Academy.
Absolutely. As a middle schooler, you're doing a lot of great things. Civil Air Patrol is definitely one of the entities that will lead you to a flying opportunity. They have some of the...
Oh, we might be losing him. That's why we... oh, there we go. He's back, yes. Hey, sir, I think you might be having some connectivity issues. We'll wait till you come back, but we do want to continue to answer that one. All right. I think he's fading in and out. All right.
Yeah.
So for now, I'm going to kick this one back over, and we're just going to go here. And Colonel Siren, I'm pretty sure it's probably going to sound really similar to what Colonel McNerney's answer is. But I want to echo, as a middle schooler going into high school, you're already on it. Like, you are already doing the right things. Your head's in the right place, and you're pointing the right direction with Civil Air Patrol, and already thinking long-term with football and high school and stuff like that, lining yourself up. So, ma'am, if you want to kind of continue on what Colonel McNerney was surely saying.
Absolutely. And Colonel McNerney and I are pretty much linked up here. So it's going to be a seamless transition. Like everybody is saying, you're on the right path and the right track, and already knowing that this is what you want to pursue, you're leaps and bounds ahead of so many of your peers. So what I would say in addition to all the things you're already doing, is make sure your grades are up and they're good. When you do take the SAT or ACT, try to get as high a score as possible and keep taking that test to increase your score. Be a holistic kid. So you've got sports, you've got CAP. Does your high school have a JROTC program? Maybe think about that. Do some volunteer work for the community, be involved in other after-school activities. I know that all sounds like a whole lot of things that you have to do as a kid. So also do not forget to have fun and enjoy your youth.
All righty. Thank you. Appreciate that. We're going to bring this one up. I know it doesn't look right, but we're going to try to assign him. So he's in the green room, which means he's back with us. We can see him. We're going to let him in, but we need to make sure that when we assign him to the right channel, he pops up. So while I'm sitting over here yapping about what we're going to do, boom, Mike saving the day on the other side of the wall. This is why, guys, spend your hard-earned money on a good producer director. Just take it from me. Spend your hard-earned money. It cost me a lot. He's laughing over there. He's like, exactly what did it cost you? So I'm not sure, sir, if you were able to hear Colonel Siren's kind of compilation of thoughts for you, but she did claim that you guys are like ESP linked and that she was pretty sure that what she was going to say was linked up with what you were. So I want to let you echo on that one because I feel like that was a really solid question and they're probably already on the right track, but I want to make sure we give them whatever boost that they need to finish that out. So we lost you pretty early on. So if you just want to kind of kick it off from the beginning.
Yeah, well, she said everything that I was basically going to say. The biggest emphasis that I just wanted to pile on with what she stated was don't only just apply for the academy, also apply for ROTC. Because those are similar opportunities. And, if USAFA doesn't happen, you don't want to regret not applying when you had the opportunity. And then you can have options on the table. But like she said, make sure you build up your grades, have good grades, and then, looking for whole person concept because a lot of people do join to serve a calling that's bigger than themselves. So what are you doing out in the community? If you're playing sports, are you a captain on that team? Are you leading? So painting that picture, but also making sure why is your passion wanting to fly or wanting to be in the Air Force? So help yourself to understand. So try lots of things. Make mistakes early on so you can identify what it is you truly like and want to do. And then also, that's the reason why we're here. We're here to share these opportunities such as the Flight Academy that there's a lot of individuals who don't know about it, that you can get your toe wet and go try and fly in a plane to see if you like it. Because I think once you get in a plane, you're going to gain a different perspective looking down from that aircraft, but also you're going to think that you can do anything after you do it. But my personal opinion is after 3 hours in a plane, you're going to not want to do anything else. And then that's the greatness of our program. In addition to the intro program at the end, we're trying to connect individuals with how they can continue that spark to turn it into a flame for the rest of their life.
Love it. Solid stuff. All right. We got time for one, maybe two more questions, and let's get one up on the screen and launch. I am 32 with a degree and pursuing my private pilot's license. Is there any chance to become a pilot in the Air Force at my age? Colonel Siren, I think I know the answer to this one, so I'm going to quietly judge you, but not officially. Is 32 is 32 too old to become a pilot in the Air Force?
Colonel McNerney, it's 33, right?
It is. So
Yes,
18 to 33, you have to be basically butts in seats for the training. And then, so that starts with the IFT fundamentals, which is, I believe it's a 2-month course prior to the undergraduate pilot training. I believe also it is potentially waiverable all the way up to the age of 35.
Yep.
But again, it's very competitive if you're applying through OTS versus going to the academy and ROTC. So with you having a degree already, I'm assuming you would be in line to go through officer training school. But that is some training that occurs before you go to pilot training. So if it's something you want to do, I say get on it and start having those conversations with potentially an officer sessions recruiter so you can get the process going to make sure you meet that timeline.
Yep. Get on airforce.com today and find the recruiter locator, like I was talking about earlier on the show, and look for officer recruiter and seriously start that today, because if you're 32, you are close to the line and you don't want to miss that because you drug your feet just a little too long. You don't need your pilot's license going in. You don't need to finish that up. You need to go talk to the recruiter because they're going to give you kind of a to-do list, and that's what's going to really help set you up and let you know potentially today if it's a possibility for you, if it's something that you're eligible for. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are done today. That is the end of the show. I want to take a moment and thank both of our guests, Colonel Siren and Colonel McNerney. Thank you guys so much for bringing all of your experience, your airtime, your wings, and by the way, your really sweet flight suits. I'm jealous. I haven't got to wear one of those in a long time. But thank you so much for taking time out of your incredibly busy schedules and coming to spend time with us on the air and answer some questions for our audience out there. Huge shout out to you guys from us. The show would not be nearly as entertaining, and they would have to look at me all the time if we didn't have guests as awesome as you guys on the show. So thank you so very, very much. Much appreciation, and hopefully we'll see you out there. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care. Everybody else out there, thank you so much for joining us. I know that it is a lot of fun for me to get to do these, and not very often do I get to enjoy this stuff on a level of like something that I've actually had experience with. You know, like we've talked EOD, we've talked law enforcement, we've talked, you know, legal and JAG, and, you know, all of these other, and chaplain corps and all these other cool things. But aviation is something that I've actually got a chance to have a bit of experience in. And it's just really, really cool for me to get to kind of share that with these guys. Makes it feel like I'm cool again sometimes. So thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time. You're going to want to tune in for this one because in an unprecedented move, we are pulling back-to-back, like high-speed, awesome, action-packed episodes. We're doing EOD, which is Explosive Ordnance Disposal, and y'all are going to want to come back next month for the video on this one alone, and then stick around for the questions because we're working some pretty sweet stuff for this one that you're going to want to check out. So that is going to be May 28th at 2 o'clock, and that is a Tuesday. You know where to find us, right here, Air Force Recruiting Services only live stream. The back and forth, but for right now, we're out of here. Peace.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of The Back and Forth, brought to you by Headquarters Air Force Recruiting Service. It is a privilege for us to bring you all the information and insider insight into the exciting world of the United States Air Force. Remember, this show is all about you. We want to make sure we're providing you information and answers you need to make an informed decision about your future. So make sure to join us every other Tuesday with your questions, your feedback, and any ideas you have for future episodes. We are all ears. Don't forget to subscribe to our social media channels for even more exciting content. And also visit airforce.com for all the latest information on serving as a Total Force Airman. And with that, until next time, aim high.